Okay. I'd like to call a meeting of the Development Review Board order, May 19th, 2015. Dan, what we got?
Okay, first item on our agenda this evening are the minutes from our last meeting.
Milt?
Make a motion to approve.
Okay, Milt moves.
Accept.
Barry seconds. All in favor? Okay.
Okay, we do have a sign-up sheet. It's on the podium. We ask anybody who speaks this evening to sign that sign-up sheet, and it includes the following oath statement. I solemnly swear or affirm under the pains and penalty of perjury that the statements I make, testimony I give, and other evidence I submit to the board at the board's public hearing held on this date shall be true and correct to the best of my knowledge and belief. And again, that's on the podium, and we just ask you to sign that before you present evidence this evening. Next item on our agenda is the disclosure of any ex parte communications or conflicts of interest regarding the matters before the board this evening.
Have any? I don't see any.
Okay. Our first hearing tonight is Aldi Inc. at 10 Coaster Drive. They're seeking development plan and design plan approval for an addition to the existing Aldi store in that location. This is the first of two required hearings for this application, and I do see that folks are here to present, so.
Okay.
You just introduce yourselves to the board and present the application.
Thank you. My name is Chris Kambar. I'm with APD Engineering and Architecture. Also with me tonight is Bruno Lorenko with Aldi. Tonight we're here to present an expansion to the existing Aldi store. The original Aldi store was built, I believe we got it open in 2000, just in the beginning of 2002. The property at 10 Coaster Drive, and since the Aldi was built, CVS has come in across the way, and Aldi was now able to expand the front portion of the building to be a 2,263 square foot plus or minus addition, about 13 feet along the front wall, as well as they'd like to redo their front canopy. As you can see here, this is the proposed look for the canopy. The original look is the EFIS. As well as the expansion along the front, they're going to rework a little bit of the asphalt here and move some of the landscape islands. It ends up being a net increase in impervious area landscaping of 2,278 square feet plus or minus. We've added several more trees to the property as well. We'll be maintaining the sidewalks and access. That's about it. This is the proposed bike path that's going through there. The town is proposing that, and I believe their engineers have designed it, and Aldi is contributing to a portion of that. As far as the elevations go, it'll be a very similar setup to what's there now. Currently, they have a canopy. The roof line is all one height, and all the logo signs here on the EFIS. What they've done is they've staggered the canopy to kind of break up the facade a little bit, having a higher tower and a little bit lower tower with their Aldi logo in the center. The colors are a little bit different. The rest of the building is going to remain the same color, the same brick facade, same pilasters. So we're going to blend everything. Lighting, the light poles in the parking lot remain the same. Underneath the canopy, they're going to have very similar lights to what they have now, except they'll be LED lights. So if you go into the Aldi and you look up, there's the 2x2 squares. They'll actually be smaller LED ones. That's about it. If the board has any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer them.
Any questions?
A little bit for sort of what our thoughts are on remodeling the store. Since 2002, we've opened two stores in Vermont, in Brattleboro, Vermont, and one north in Rutland, Vermont. So, and they're all 5-aisle stores with a similar look. And Bennington is. We're in a remodel process. We've done a lot of our older stores in the Hudson Valley, New York area, and Bennington is one of the stores that is next on the list. Interior The addition is to accommodate a 5th aisle. Currently, the store is 4 aisle. All of our stores now are 5 aisles, so that would accommodate that last aisle, as well as more fresh products. The store gets completely new mechanicals, so new heating and cooling, new refrigeration, and all new lighting as well.
And new graphics.
Meeting all new standards. It would look like a completely new store, very modern, not the current look that we have in Bennington. Not that there's anything wrong with it, but it would definitely freshen up the look.
Will it remain open while you're doing this?
I'm sorry?
Will it remain open?
It'll be closed for about 30 days. More than that, we'll do as much as we can. We'll do some of the interior piping for the heating and cooling as much as we can while the store is open. But then we'll have to close the store because the store will have to obviously be shut down. It gets a brand new power wall, which would be all new mechanical, so obviously the store needs to be closed for a little bit. But once it opens, it will really make an impact. We've done remodels in the Hudson Valley division or in New York, and it's been impressive. I mean, it hurts the customers a little bit because the store is closed, but when they open, it makes a big impact. We are opening a store in Pittsfield, Massachusetts in August, which will hopefully, some of the customers will, it's quite a ways, but hopefully some of the customers will travel down to our new store in Pittsfield, Massachusetts, which will have the same look.
You have one in Rutland, too.
In Rutland, yes, it's a little bit further away, unfortunately.
Will there be any additional signage?
No, it'll just be the one building sign that exists now.
Okay.
You can keep that building sign.
Okay, thank you.
And the pylons to remain the same as well.
Dan?
And the store will be the same size as the store that's currently in Rutland?
Yes,
Is that right?
that's correct.
Pretty much
Yes,
identical
pretty
footprint?
close. Yeah, it's almost to a couple hundred square feet here and there, but basically the same exact store.
Okay.
Bill?
You speak of the brick facade. Is that going to be like the original store, the brick veneer, or is it going to be panels that you set in place?
It's not going to be panels, it's going to be
It'll be brick veneer like you did
real
originally?
mason.
Okay, very good.
Barry?
Yeah, right, it's real brick.
Yeah, it's actually real brick, it's not.
Yeah, it's going to be done by mason.
Good.
Originally, a lot of attention was paid, a lot of detail was paid for a site view from the highway to the roof, the original equipment that was on the roof. Is what's being done now to mitigate that same site distance on the new addition? Will there be heating, air conditioning on the roof?
Well, we're going down, there's 3 units currently on the roof, we're going down to 1 unit. So a 20-ton unit of CES, it's one singular box as opposed to the...
One big one? Or
Yeah, one bigger one, probably the size of maybe 2 of these tables put together. But we had originally, when we opened the store, we had raised the parapet. That's a substantially high parapet to block that. We believe that we would still, we can show a rendering of that, but I believe that the CS for that one unit will be, you have to really look for it to see
Bill?
Barry already asked one of my questions. The entrance, is that being changed?
Entrance is not being changed. It's moving forward with the addition, but it's not being changed.
Okay.
Currently, there's a cart wall. The carts will still be stored outside, but it'll be a hip wall, and it won't have that glass, that fake glass look.
So the sight distance coming out and everything's going to be the same when pedestrians come off into the parking lot?
The site distance from.
Well, there's not going to be blind coming out of there, let me put it that way.
No.
No, they'll still have a buffer between the drive aisle.
Okay,
Correct.
yeah. Yeah, I was going to ask you about the roof too, but I guess that's, all right, that's it.
Barry?
on the lighting, you're using cutoff fixtures, but the overall glow, is that going to really increase really predominantly so that it can be seen from the highway?
I think the town has its own lighting regulations that
Yeah, we're not, the poles that are there now are remaining, we're not moving them or changing the fixtures in any way.
But you are adding more, right?
No.
Oh, okay.
No. The major change here is when we bump out the front wall for the expansion, that row of parking in the front of the building goes away. So we have enough parking out there that we can maintain the expansion without needing a variance or anything like that. So that's the main change.
Any other questions? Anyone from the audience like to speak on this? I don't see any.
If there's no additional questions for these folks, if you guys are satisfied, a motion for a preliminary approval would be appropriate, and we could finish it up at the next meeting.
Charles?
I'll make the motion for a preliminary approval.
Okay, Barry? Barry seconds. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor? Guys, we're all set.
Thank you, guys.
See you in 2 weeks.
Thank you.
2 weeks.
3 weeks. 3 weeks, yeah, 3 weeks. Okay,
Would be a problem.
the next and final hearing on our agenda is Robert Cobelia at 3015 West Road, seeking development plan approval for a sawmill on this site. And again, this is the same as the previous application. This is the first of 2 required hearings for this project.
Are you ready for me to start, Dan?
Yes, go ahead, Bob.
Well, thank you for having the opportunity to present my case to you folks today. I've given you some information just before the meeting, and I apologize for not having that to you sooner. And in essence of my presentation, there's a cover letter that I have on the front of the document that's several pages. I'll go over what's in there. One is a description, a narrative of the sawmill log yard proposal. There's your own rural conservation district use and allowed use, and I'll be citing that and the definition of forestry, which comes right from the zoning paperwork. I tried to address in that presentation to you a copy of my map. There were questions that Dan asked for me to give to you of what a sawmill would look like. So I've included a couple of pictures. And other than that, we have other information that includes maps. Big stuff, or there's 2 maps that would be in addition. One is from VTran, and one is a survey of my property with a sketch that I put on it for the sawmill site. So with that, I'll give you a quick couple of minute presentation of what we're looking to do. The sawmill site fills a local need as there's no large-scale sawmills in Bennington County, offering competitive pricing for multiple species and grades, and it's on a state highway. The company's to be named Tri-State Log Co-op. I will be buying many species of logs, woodlots, and timberland. The log trucks would bring mixed loads of logs from area woodlots for the landowners or loggers and unload them for grading and scaling in the designated area. That's the hard ground out in the right adjacent to the state road. After inspecting the logs, will be picked up with a rubber tire forklift, sorted into piles of veneer, pine, hemlock, spruce, various species of hardwood saw logs, and a straight rot-free industrial grade hardwood log. I do not intend to buy pulpwood or firewood, but will maintain a list of producers for local residents to contact for firewood supply. Initially, I'll maintain a list of producers that they can reach. I'll be taking custom sawing orders at the beginning, and I'm going to contract the on-site milling to collaborating portable sawmill operators. I'm estimating 1 million board feet production the first year of logs. Some of that will be made into lumber and some won't. A portable sawmill are what I put the pictures in. And in the bylaws, that the zoning administrator's definitions show under forestry that you can have a portable sawmill in a forestry zone, which we are. And so I still would like to have the board approval, even though it could be done by the zoning administrator without coming here, in my opinion. But I'm looking to seek common ground with you folks for your input. Initially, that 1 million board feet is the first-year target. Typical lumber orders will likely include post and beams. We do have an active post and beam building trade in this area, and they need that sort of production. Industrial timbers, oak fencing, and rough-cut lumber for local building projects. This project, as I just said, is an allowed use in the RC district using table 3.13B4. When loads are ready, trailer trucks will be ordered, most likely arrive and depart to the junction of New York 7 and 279. That's 1 mile to the west of our property. Keeps the trucks out of town. That's a good location for this. Occasionally, I'll have collaborators' trucks loaded and leave with appropriate paperwork. An example of a collaborator that I work with is Ethan Allen, and their trucks would come in and go up to Orleans. I may export prep and ship some high-value specialty logs or lumber. We have multiple customers awaiting loads, so turnover will be as fast as possible. This is most important in warm months when stains can ruin the value of the logs or the green lumber if it's not processed quickly. Off-spec logs and improvement trimmings will be removed from the area weekly, as I have an outdoor wood heating system, and that would supplement my personal needs from the scraps. The mill yard will be gated as necessary. Right now, I just have a rope and a cable, and I've had problems. My property is zoned for a sawmill with Development Review Board approval under 3.13C-11. I'm applying to build a permanent sawmill. I envision a modern computerized facility with a double-cut bandsaw and resaw with annual production in excess of 10 million board feet a year. That's the combined volume lost with the closing of Northeast Wood Products and Eagle Lumber, both here in Bennington County. We've lost even more than that when you count some of the mills that were up in the Manchester area. Right now, all that work goes elsewhere, out of the area. The wood's still there, and it's still growing more than ever. For sound financing and planning, I desire to get the Development Review Board first before we put thousands of dollars into the effort to build the mill. So my request of you folks is that it's in our bylaws that a sawmill could go in there. I just need to know how much effort I need to put in if you're going to let me put a sawmill in there, over and above the portable one that I would like to do immediately. So please refer to that 8.5 by 17 aerial map while I read the comments. Last year, I obtained a state work permit to work in the state right-of-way to improve access into the field via a barway that I closed in 1988. I installed curtain drains as necessary, stockpiled the topsoil and waste dirt, and graded the site to a solid rock surface. It was all solid shale, so it makes a really nice hard area. East of the entrance runs a 3-rail fence and hedgerow. It sets about 5 to 10 feet higher than the highway, and it limits the visibility to the area for the motoring public. I applied for a commercial access permit from VTran, and I have the number 39226. And I believe Dan had passed on a copy of that to you folks. So their letter was sent to me with approval with conditions, and that's all in your hands now. The state was very thorough in their review. They have certain site distance requirements, and the conditions they set forth in that permit are pretty clear as to what meets muster. I did see the local state representative as they're doing some highway work out there on 9 this year. In fact, I have to pull a culvert by my main driveway. And they said that they would not be able to attend a meeting here. I asked them, and they said the state currently is under a no overtime policy, but they'd be happy to answer any questions that you have, if you have any, in regards to the permit and the conditions, if you call them during their regular business hours. So in summary, the log yard and sawmill offering local landowners and loggers a competitive market for timber and/or logs will benefit many in the area. I still have a website that's under construction, but if you want to see additional info on what my Forestry Services website is, it's at www.forestryservices.com. So with that information, I'm happy to answer any questions or flesh out any things that you may have that I haven't addressed at this time.
Charles?
What hours of operation are you going to have the trucks coming in to load up and leave?
I don't see a reason why a trucker can't come in anytime when it's legal. I'm out in the middle of nowheres.
Well, I'm just thinking that's a sharp curve right there, and if it's late at night and a truck's trying to pull out of there, I'm just concerned about that.
Well, certainly V-Tran addressed that issue, and not to be flip about it, but truckers sometimes get held up at certain times. V-Tran did look at it and didn't think it held a particularly dangerous area. As people come east into the state of Vermont, it's pretty bad on the state line, and it's a long, slow uphill run right in just about to the front of my entryway. So the trucks that are coming and cars usually can't make any speed until you get into the straightaway. So I think they realize that even with the sight distance they've given, the 500-foot minimums are met with the actions that they have taken. But as far as most of the time, I start at 5, and if they're there and want to unload, it may be dark, they better have a light, because I'm not looking to put any lights on the facility except for what's on the equipment.
Any other questions? Dan?
Is the permanent mill going to be diesel or electric? Obviously, the portable one's diesel.
Yeah, I'll address the portable mill first. The pictures that I show, I'm doing the portable because it's real easy to describe. If you look at the pictures, you see they're on a trailer hitch.
Yeah.
You can hook it right to and move it in on site. And there's several fellas that make a decent living and already own the equipment, and I want to be able to utilize their services, but I may not be able to get them on a daily basis, so I'm going to put it up to a few who may be able to work with me. And just like Curtis Lumber down the road has Anderson window sales about every 3 months or 4 months, whatever it is, we'll be looking to do some custom sawing orders in quarterly allotments, and then get the wood in that matches up with those orders. So that's the easy part to describe that. I'm looking to have them not get in the way of the truck coming in and out by the road. So I have a barn with a shed roof on it, and I'd look to put some of the lumber right under the existing barn or in the barn. And the portable mill can easily set up right there where we currently have a camping trailer stored for the winter. Makes a good, hard, solid surface. As far as the permanent mill, one of the reasons I closed Northeast was because of uncontrolled energy costs, including electric power. And that is something that mill in Pownell that I had, we saw at about 2 million feet a year on a fixed site, and the energy was just awful. I have been in contact with some people that are involved with energy and solar projects. They take time, as you well know, but I've been advised that I have a very nice potential site for solar generation. That could be a game changer for energy. So at first, I am looking to go into this eyes wide open and be very cautious about not building something that won't fit right. But it could be very exciting to have a very neat, modern facility on this side of the state. Right now, Brattleboro has 2 pretty good-sized mills.
So in other words, at this point, you're not sure?
We're talking millions of dollars that I'm not just going to squander it. I may look to have this done with some collaborators that work with me that say, you know, we can have you build it and make it and employ 30 or 40 people down here. So I only am looking at this point for your blessing if you think the site is good. I don't have a sound plan except to tell you that that's where I'd be looking, is be a modern plant that would employ about 20 people minimum. And right now the economy's not right. It's so easy to get markets oversupplied. It's not the right time to go and start making more than the market can demand. As example, hard maple was hot as a pistol through the winter, and it got oversupplied, and the bottom's falling out. So you wouldn't want to have 1 million feet of maple lumber right now. So, you know, it's better to get a stronger economy going before I go to spend that kind of money.
Barry?
So at this point, you don't own a sawmill, and you don't plan to have a sawmill that you own in the near future?
I can answer both of those, that I currently do not own a sawmill. I could have a portable mill in my backyard tomorrow, but
That wasn't my question.
Yeah,
My question
but
was, do you own it?
Currently, I don't. I could buy one. There's thousands of them available if I chose to want to buy one. On the other hand, there's people that are in the business right now looking for gainful employment, and I could work with them as outsource to do the sawing for me. Their problem is getting wood. So we're looking to put that together, the orders with the ability to make the lumber on site.
Bill?
Well, my question was, at this time, you haven't started any preliminary designs or anything for a permanent sawmill in there. You're just talking about a portable sawmill at this time.
That's
You haven't really planned ahead for anything that's going to be in there then. This is all you plan for at this point.
If you said, how long would the plans flesh out? I may come back to the board in a year after we make the first one work. If you can make money with the first one, the little operation, we're talking something that's significant improvement and costs a lot of money.
Yeah.
So we'd have the time to make it work.
Any other questions? Bill?
Yeah, to get back to the site. The existing cable, if a truck were to pull in there, maybe I should rephrase this. Let me ask you this question. What is your plan as far as the location of the cable? My concern being, if a trailer comes down there at night, you've got that blocked off, he's got no place to go. He's either got to go down the road and park, wait, or to open, or sit beside the road.
Mm-hmm. Well, you're exactly right. The cable's only up there right now. It's a piece of bale and twine that you could easily drive through. And the idea of a gate does not appeal to me. I don't really want one.
Well, I don't know that you have to have one, I think.
I don't have to have it gated.
You're going to leave it open so they can get in there and park?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the idea is if you're coming eastbound on 9, you put your blinker on,
Yeah, I don't,
coast is clear,
I'm
you
just,
pull right in.
I just want to make sure they have full-time access to the lot.
Yeah, no, they absolutely would. One thing I should probably mention is that, and on this narrative, I did not expand on it. No deliveries will come to my wood yard or sawmill without my knowing about it. So number one, if I know they're coming and I have a gate, it would be open. And number two, no lumber or logs go out without my knowledge, because you need papers to accompany the load. So again, anytime I know that there's loads coming in and out, I wouldn't have it gated. And there would be a potential time, I don't want to have wood come in there at any time, that just because I advertise in a trade organization, and I'm not open 24/7 without prior approval of the wood. And sometimes loggers will bring you inferior material and think that you'll buy
Yeah,
it.
but you know,
I don't want it.
in the real world, there's times when somebody will show up.
Yeah.
And that my concern was that to be able, even if they have to go in there and turn around and come back out, at least they can. They're not, they aren't stuck out there, especially if they don't know the way around.
Yeah. I currently see that every day on that highway I don't have a operation there. I just live there. And every day I see truckers that are lost because their GPS doesn't have the new road on it, and they go on 7 and they get up to right about my driveway or the motel across the street, and they pull over and they try to get, and you'll see them calling, and they're confused. They don't know what to do. So the worst case is that my place will be open, but I don't want to be the place that everybody that
No.
should be going to Manchester turns around. That's not what I'm there for. So, until it's a problem, that there won't even be a gate.
Any other questions? I have a few, Bob. Dan sent you a list of things we would like,
Yes, sir.
and on your write-up you gave, you said it's a permanent sawmill. But then on your site plan and the drawings, you show a portable. So I don't understand whether it's going to be permanent or portable. And how often will this be operated? How often will you use the sawmill?
Well, I'm glad I can clarify that question. Initially, this is an application that I could have dealt just with Dan on as the zoning administrator, to put a portable mill in there to do this work. Right now, I'm thinking 1 million feet. I've tried to explain that we'll be handling 1 million feet of logs and lumber on site with portable mills. In contrast, the mill I had in Pownell, we did a couple of million feet a year in that time frame. And I'm underestimating how much we can do. But it's the first year. It takes a little while to get your business up and rolling. And it could be a mixture of pine, hemlock, and hardwood logs. That's what we grow on these wood lots. And I may find that the best orders I can get are in softwood timbers. And I want the flexibility to be able to meet the needs of the community. The last year that I saw it at Northeast, the thing that made me the most money was not hardwood, it was hemlock sawing for people to do post and beam and barn siding on hemlock. So that's something that's perfectly easy to do on these portable mills. High quality hardwood lumber is something that you better have really good quality control, and that's where the permanent mill comes in handy, or even better. I mean, that's where it's a real business. And right now, I've tried to identify that, yes, this permit that I'm looking to get approval from you folks to do the portable mill, which is I clearly identified what that was. That gets me going, and I can make an analysis to whether it's cost-effective to do a permanent sawmill. In which case, that permanent mill, you're going to have a lot more questions. I totally get that you'd want to retain the opportunity to review any plans. I understand that. I'm just looking to see if you would look at what I'm proposing and honor what's in the bylaws as with your approval, I'm approved for a sawmill on this site. So that's why it's a two-step proposal on my intro letter that describes the project.
On your drawings that you've given us, the one you gave us tonight is 12 years old. You know, we need a new, up-to-date site plan for this project. You gave us one that you drew by hand, a sketch, not good enough. The one that's 12 years old doesn't show us anything. It just, you know, we need a new drawing by a professional engineer with this, drawing the scale, so we know what we're approving.
I can hear what you're saying.
Right.
And the area that we're talking about is clearly identified with a survey map by a professional engineer that shows my boundaries. And we're not talking a building 100 by 100. We're talking about a portable mill that could locate itself anywheres on that. And I've tried to include on every site plan that it's going to be adjacent to my barn, that's the area the portable mill would set up.
So it's not going to be permanent. It's going to be a portable mill.
That portable mill will be initially not on a fixed foundation. He'll be able to hook onto it just like the camping trailer that's there now that'll get moved out of. You need level hard ground. And that's the spot that I was looking to put the portable mill.
Barry?
I'm still confused here, Bob. You keep talking about a portable mill, but you told me that you don't own a portable mill, you don't own a permanent mill, and you don't plan to in the near future. Well, who owns this portable mill you keep talking about?
If you were to look on the handouts that I gave you, there's a couple of young fellows that are in Massachusetts that are available for hire. They happen to have a very good pedigree and a very good recommendation.
Well, I know people that have portable mills too, and they're
Yeah.
for hire. But I want to know about this site plan, because it's the one you're applying for.
Yes, sir.
I want to know who owns the sawmill on this site plan.
Right now, because I haven't had approval for it, I have not bought one. I don't need to have a mill that somebody would tell me that I can't run,
But you just told me you don't plan on buying one right away.
but I could. You know, would you buy one if you could hire it out and have the work done? Because not only am I looking to make lumber, I'm also looking to make the logs come to the mill. And somebody has to do that. So I'd rather hire somebody to manufacture the lumber for me, which seems like a logical connection. The ability to make lumber physically, I can do it, but I could get buried in time and not be able to get the orders that I need. The money in lumber is made by getting orders, not manufacturing it.
Hope it's not being too picky, Bob, but the permit application you have with the Vermont Agency of Transportation, it says the work is to be completed by November 20th, 2014. Does that have any bearing on anything? I mean, that's last year.
That permit that I included a copy, that was permit number one. I am actually glad you brought that up, because there was some question as to whether I had a permit even last January. Well, the permit I had was the first one that the state gave me locally. Then they had a second permit application because they wanted to ensure the commercial viability of coming in and out of there. So I had two permit applications with the state. The first one that I have a copy in your package of was when I had originally done the work in the drainage and in the state right-of-way. So it's all basically roughed in. The second permit issued out of the state office, they local guys bounced it up to Teresa, and she came down, did a site visit, made sure everything was correct, and that's the permit that is more detailed, and it happens to be about 7 or 8 pages, and it had special conditions, which she went over some of the same plowed field that the local guys did, but she included some things in there about blacktopping, and it's self-explanatory what those items are. One was to clear out some of the sumac by the highway to improve the visibility and to take down the fence, which blocked the view on the curve. So that's been done during the winter. When it was easy to work on it, I took that out. So it's, does that clarify the difference?
It also says on here that the work is subject to the restrictions and conditions on the reverse page, plus the special conditions stated on the approved pages, which there are none. There's no, are there any other restrictions? It says there are, but we have one page, that's all.
What I have here, the report was a total of 5 pages of special conditions.
We probably should have had it, I think.
Oh, you guys have been given the second, and it's not a permit, it's a letter of intent.
It's an application.
Right, that is, what you're looking at there is actually for the drainage work that he did, which is kind of irrelevant because it's done and over with and it was approved by the state. What's relevant is the letter of intent that Bob received and that we
got it.
Board. And again, I just want to clarify, it is being called a permit. Often people do call it a permit, but it is just a letter of intent. The permit is subject to many conditions, including the approval of this board. So the permit wouldn't be issued unless this board approves the application.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Bob.
Why did you close the sawmill down in Pownell?
2007 was a bad year for making lumber, and that was the year the mill closed. That was the last year we sawed any boards. The auction was in 2010, and it took, as everybody knows, a recession in the housing was very long, extended period
I was
of
just
time.
curious why you were moving here instead of staying in Pownell.
I live here.
I know, yeah.
I've lived here on this property since 1986. And what would be nicer than to walk out your door to work in your older years and not have to commute anymore? You can go out and do your business on your own property. How sweet is that? And the property in Pownell, it used to take me a minimum of 20 minutes every day, each way, each time I did it, out of my life. And I'm looking to be in business, not drive a car back and forth.
Any other questions from the board? Anyone from the audience have questions? Yes. Yes. Sign in, please, and give us your name.
My name is Dick Cutler. I'm an adjacent landowner. I only have really one question. On this plot plan here, he's got a number 3 area, which is a secondary storage area. And
we have a couple plot plans. Which one do you have, Dick?
It's on the handwritten one.
it's on the handwritten one.
Okay.
I just don't see any definition of area. It doesn't give any boundaries of how far it can go. He's got, on one plan here, 4 acres. Is that the whole area that he's using, or? So how far can the secondary area go? The whole 50-some acres, or just the 4 acres which he's got labeled here?
I don't know. All I know is what's written here. Yeah. Bob, can you answer that?
As far as the operation goes, it makes the most sense to be concentrated just like a PUD development. I don't need to have logs stockpiled up in my back 40 and take half a day to run material up and back. It's concentrated around the barn and that immediate working land right there. So there's between a couple hundred feet around the barn down to the highway is approximately a 4 or 5 acre area. And that's where you want to be. A lot of my farm is clay, looks great, grows really nice green grass. You get stuck in 2 seconds. So you better stick to the hard ground.
See, Bob, if you're going to specify 4 acres, you have to show us where they are on the drawing. It has to be outlined, so we know what 4 acres you're talking about.
I guess that's my only question, is it defined to make sure it is included in the plot plan, exactly where it is? That's my only question.
Okay. Anyone else? Yes.
My name is Bill Wicks, and I live right next to Bob. And I was wondering what the hours of operation will be and the noise level. Is there anything stipulated, how loud it can be or how loud it can get? And this is also a 2-acre residential zone, but it's permitted in this zone, if I'm correct, right?
It's
Okay.
permitted in the zone with Development Review Board approval, assuming they meet all the
Okay.
criteria. As far as your noise question, Mr. Wicks, there is both a limit on noise at the property line in our zoning regulations as well as in our town ordinances. And believe it's daytime 70 decibels at the property line, and then at nighttime it drops significantly. And nighttime is usually, I don't recall exactly what the ordinance says, but it's 8 or 9 o'clock, I believe, when it drops significantly.
I know I applied for an application for another business there probably 10 years ago, 12 years ago, and I was told that was on a very dangerous curve. I don't know if that's still applicable or not, but it's the same curve. So.
Just to respond to that, Mr. Wicks, this board has specifically requested that the Agency of Transportation folks come to this meeting and explain why they believe that it's safe to allow for a driveway there, and I think I would expect the board would stick to that request.
Okay, and this will not, like if somebody wants to build a nice house on 2 acres, you don't think this will bother it? Because it's 2 acre zoning? Am I right?
A minimum of 80,000 square feet per dwelling, if a dwelling is constructed in that zone, that's correct.
Okay. All right, I guess that's all I have. I've signed in, and any questions you have for me?
Any questions?
Okay.
Bill? Bill, I will say that the noise level, 70 decibels, is approximately 2 people standing 3 feet apart, normal talk. So it's not very high.
That's not very much.
That's pretty low.
Yeah, yeah.
It sounds high when you say 70, but it's,
Yeah, 2 people 6 feet apart is not.
yeah.
Yeah, but depends how old you are.
Anyone else? Yes.
McDonald's drive-through is worse than that.
Yeah, you're right. Any drive-through is, right?
My name is Jane Radacchia. My son over there is Peter Radacchia. We live in viewing distance of the Kabelia Farm. We are the abutters to the abutters. We live at the last farm on West Road. I have several questions, one of which is I think that I'm an abutter because my land is across the street, and I was not notified. And I wonder what the rules are. I would have liked to have seen all of this ahead of time. I would really like to see it now. Not this minute, but when this is over, I'd like to have a pamphlet, a packet. We have a woodlot, and we have cut lumber there at the woodlot, which is at the back of our land, and nobody's ever complained about the noise. So I have not enough knowledge about what a sawmill there would do or how it would operate. I have been through the plant in Pownell, and that's certainly very different than what we cut on our land 3 or 4 years ago. So I'm concerned about the whole, what happens. We know that when Bill Wicks stands in his garage down by the road where the farm stand is and talks, that we can hear his conversation. So the fact of the valley and the noise, did you know that, Bill?
He does now.
The fact of the way the valley works, you can hear people. And so I'm not certain about the decibel level, and I don't mean that he shouldn't do this. I'm just curious. The other thing is that we come out that corner, that driveway at where Bill Wicks' house is, ours is behind, and we come down the curve, and there it is, and there's all the mailboxes. There are times when I turn and go into New York to turn around at Farmers Inn Road because it's too dangerous to pull out. You can pull out and think you're fine and find that there's somebody right on your tail. So I know the trucks can't do it quite as fast, but I really am. We talked to the state about maybe getting a mirror, and there's all kinds of issues about insurance and liability, so no mirror, we're just more careful. I've been watching that corner. I don't know. I'd like to hear the state's opinion. I know our driveway is sometimes really dangerous. I'm really here to find out more information, and I wish it had been more disseminated. And, you know, he's a good neighbor. When his dogs come to our land, he comes and gets them. You know, we don't have any problem.
Jane, just you feel free to come down to the office and we can make you copies of whatever we have.
All right.
2 of these.
Yeah, if you got extras, that's good, and start with that.
I have it?
Certainly.
Thank you.
Yep. But we do have more information at the office, too, if you'd like to come down. And I just asked my assistant to make copies for you, please.
Jane,
Thank you. Yes.
were you notified about this meeting?
No. We
Being
were
a
lucky
butter?
enough to talk to Bill,
Okay.
and he said it was happening, and we thought, we ought to show up. You know, it was fun to hear about Aldi's, too, you know.
Dan,
Any other
you have a
questions for
question?
me?
No?
Thank you.
Anyone else to speak? Here. Here.
Dick wants to speak again, too.
My name is Peter Radakia. I am
Dick Cutler wants to speak again.
a neighbor, well, I'm Jane's son. I live next door to her. I live next door to Bill. I have a beautiful view of the Kabelia property. I don't know much about sawmills. I guess my question is, the sawmill I do know is the one in Paulson's down in
Direct the question to the board, please.
Oh, sorry. So I don't know much about sawmills. My question is, as far as the scale is concerned, there's a sawmill in Petersburg, in North Petersburg, Paulson's. That sawmill, it occupies about the same size. I mean, I'm thinking about 4 acres. That might occupy about 4 acres. Is that a fair reference point? Like, is that a fair comparison, like, to the kind of sawmill that you could put into that space? Something comparable to Paulson's? Does that sawmill produce 1 million board feet a year, 2 million board feet a year. That sawmill employs about 2, maybe 3 people. I heard Bob mention something about 20 people down the road if the sawmill had, if the business was, if they got a permit for a permanent facility. Is that plausible? Those are just, those are my questions. I second Bill's concerns about the noise, and about the traffic, and I guess that's it, really. Maybe Bob could address some of those questions, or the board could, I don't know.
Bob, are you familiar with that mill? And perhaps you could answer that question. Before Bob answers that question, just to clarify for folks, and I think that Mr. Gabilia has clarified it, but just to clarify again, although Mr. Gabilia has discussed a permanent sawmill, his application this evening is not for a permanent building with a sawmill in it. It's for some sort of temporary sawmill, whether it's owned by him or owned by others. That's the application. I'm not saying that's appropriate or not appropriate, but that is what the application is this evening. We will not be considering, either at this meeting or the next meeting, a permanent sawmill because it's not before us. Just to clarify that, but maybe Bob can also answer your question about that, the size of that mill.
Bob?
I do have one more question.
There's a couple of questions that are backed up, but I'll start with his because he just asked it. The Paulson Mill is a fixed mill, and they saw mostly pine. They may take orders for other species, but they like to get long lengths of pine, heavy to 16 foot, and produce a lot of it. That's one way you can get a lot of volume through your operation, is if you deal not with 8-foot material, but 16s. You're the same amount of time, zip right through it. So they can easily saw with a circle mill, which that is, you know, that couple of million feet a year of softwood. What my proposal is with a band mill, and one of those mills that I produced pictures of is a portable band mill. They can saw pretty fast. And the nice thing about it is that you can do longer timbers, which is real handy when some of these post and beam guys, or you're doing work on a barn, you have that 16-foot lumber, even 20-foot posts are real handy. So it can go out to 24 feet. So that's a handy length. So doing that, my estimation is half of what Paulson's fixed mill is. But he is really confined in an area of about 2 acres because he has the little Hoosick right behind the mill. So it's really squeezed into a tight spot. It's nice to have a little more room, and he just is limited by the size of the land that he has access to. As far as a couple of the other questions, does that help answer the question on volume? Yeah, because I have a good market for industrial pallet, some of that, I'll describe it this way. The old days of thinking, when you look at a woodlot, that you have veneer and you have high-quality saw logs, and then you have low-grade, many times it goes to firewood or pulp. As long as the material is no rot and reasonably straight, you could have branches all the way around. For example, a crummy piece of beech, as long as it was straight. And it's being sawn and used for things like industrial matting, where they may do power line work. They don't pressure treat the material. They just create these, basically a corduroy road out of hardwood material, pull it into place, and keep fixing your power lines and leave it right on site to rot. I have relationships with a couple of outfits that I can sell either lumber or the logs cut to that length. And what it would do is it allows you to utilize a piece of wood that for years people would think was junk in our forest. And for good sound forest management, you want that piece out. And if you could get a very good price for it, it gives landowners locally an opportunity to do something with that low-quality beech log or things that are just, sometimes the prices are better than the lumber you can get for it if it was a low-grade species. So that, by making big logs and lumber, the volume gets to be pretty big in a hurry.
Bob?
Yes, sir.
I would like you to stick to the application.
Yes, sir.
We cannot make any rulings on the size of the logs or any of that. So we can just stick to questions, because I think we have another question here for you.
I do have one. Approximately how many truckloads is 1 million board feet?
Again,
Or roughly how many board feet are on a truckload? That would,
yeah,
I can do
there's,
the math.
I'll describe it this way. If a log truck is just that triaxle without a pup trailer behind it, when it looks like it's a piggyback load, a load of hardwood, you're limited by the weight laws of the state that you're in.
Do you have a rule of thumb to give me a succinct
like
answer?
a triaxle, if it was a hardwood load, about 3,200 to 3,500 board feet of hardwood. And it makes a difference whether it's oak or whether it was maple. You know, the oak's a lot heavier. But as soon as you connect that pup trailer to it, you could have 5,500 on it.
Okay, thank you.
On that same load, if you carried softwood, softwood's much lighter, and either a trailer or a pup trailer, you can put a lot more weight on it. So you could easily get loads of 6,500 board feet.
Okay.
If it was softwood. And if you looked at that cherry picker on the log truck, that weighs 20,000 pounds. So that's why we like to be able to load trailers and unload trailer, because you're carrying logs now, not iron.
So roughly 200 truckloads is 1 million board feet.
Sounds right.
At 5,000.
Sounds right.
Okay, thank you.
Now, some of that would come out too. I mean, you may double the volume of loads.
Right.
Because lumber in and logs in, lumber out, that sort of thing.
Okay.
Can I address a couple of the questions that were raised earlier, just because I got them up here and I'd like to get them out?
As long as it has to do with the permit, not...
Yes, sir. The issue of sound.
Okay.
One of the things that you'll hear is the whine of a saw. And it's kind of a nice sound. When I first bought Northeast Wood, first day of operation after that mill was shuttered for 2 years, was my wife had come down and she said, "What's that noise?" And I said, "That's the sound of business. People are making a living." And she said, "I like that sound." And I had it checked with the meters that are necessary. We had to for OSHA. And if you were in the building, yeah, it was loud. But at the boundary line, it was, we had the doors open many times, and there was never any problem once you know, near any boundary line. We also had a train that was on the, and when the train went by, it was off the chart. Just like the trucks and all the other vehicles, motorcycles that go past us every day, those, when they go by, if you're right by the boundary line, they're above the threshold, but we can't do anything about it. But where I'm looking at setting this up, it would be, should be no problem at all with that minimal sound. And for what it's worth, I've only heard Bill a couple of times, and that's usually when he and I are talking at the fence line. And the only thing I hear at Radicchio's is when the barn cleaner comes on. So I can hear that, but it doesn't bother me.
Dick, did you have another question?
And there was another question, if I can ask, about the notification. I would have been very happy to send it to them because they do have line of sight. But if you look at the tax map, unless I'm mistaken and they're plotted wrong, they don't ever, even though they're on the other side of me, that's not a mutual four corners like four corners out in the west, where Colorado and Utah and Arizona all come together. There's no spot that their mutual boundary line matches up with mine that I'm mistaken, unless I'm mistaken about that. I think there's, you've got the tax maps, and that's what I went by.
We don't use the tax maps. We have to use the drawings that you get for the.
Well, he's talking about for a notified.
Yeah, that was
Oh,
for
okay.
notification.
I got you. Okay.
And I did give you the list of who I
wants
did
to go
send it
first.
to.
Okay, we're going to move on.
Are there any other questions?
Dick has some questions.
This my question would be the waste, which would be sawdust, bark, or whatever. How much is going to be stored on the property? What is he going to do with it? And how much is going to be stored there? And how permanent it's going to be? So how often it's taken away or whatever?
It says once per week on the narrative.
Once per
The
week?
narrative mentions once per week.
Oh, okay. I don't have that.
No, you don't, but yeah, that's what it says.
Bill?
One question, Bob,
Bill? Bill? You have to come up here and address the questions to the board.
It's hard for him. It's hard for him.
Can I get a copy of that?
Sure, do we have an extra one? If not, we can make you copies at the town office, yeah.
How does the beetle infestation that's around, Bob, affect you?
I can't-
You say you can't take firewood across the line. How does it work with logs?
Here, go ahead, Bob.
Well, that's an excellent question, Bill, because it gives you a good reason why we need to utilize our wood. In states that have quarantine, there's rules and regulations that you must abide by for shipping certain types of logs at certain times of the year. Probably most notable is the emerald ash borer that's killing trees all across the country. We're very fortunate to not have it here in Vermont yet. We're surrounded. It's been picked up in Dalton. It's been picked up nearby New York State. Probably sooner or later we're going to find it. Right now, I can ship logs all winter long of ash from anywheres in log form. But at the same time, I can't bring any logs from out of state, for example, ash, particularly because of the quarantine, from a New York or a Massachusetts site into Vermont without being fined and put to the test. So you can legally handle this material in the winter the way the quarantine rules are today. You can ship all around in the wintertime, but between October 1st and maybe March 15th is the only time you want to have logs come from other states, and it has to be in log form. So I can handle them and move them out. A company like True Temper up in Wallingford that uses ash, large volumes of it, they've had to adjust their ability on what wood to use. So it's, for them, it's a headache. I can saw any species any time of the year. But if I'm shipping to True Temper, they would like to get their Massachusetts and New York logs in the wintertime because they have to clean it all up and the bark and all that before the April 1st. For myself, I can legally ship ash anywheres, but I am just like anybody that handles. We don't want to handle firewood, limbwood. That's where some of these critters are, and that's why I don't want to bring it in. So we're dealing with logs. And that was an excellent question.
Anything else
The
on the
other
board?
comment I wanted to make, because the camera, if it does work, there's a picture of the V-Tran aerial photography of my road frontage. It's a pretty straight road in front of me, and in fact, it's so straight they have a dashed line for passing. It's just that when you head towards the state line with New York, it is very sharp, and that's where there've been serious car accidents and fatalities. You can't help that people like to speed or whatever, but it's still, that's past my property line that it gets to be an issue.
Okay, thank you, Bob. Yes, Barry?
Assuming the board has no more questions, I'm ready to make a motion.
Okay.
I would move to close the hearing and move into executive session.
Deliberative session.
Deliberative session.
Second.
Second? Ron seconds. All in favor? Okay. We're going to go into a deliberative session. We'll come up with anything we need for you to present for the next time, and Dan will get you a copy of it.
There's the sketch.